The date is June 24th, 1991, one day after the bombastic release of Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Genesis, not only throttling the Genesis itself as a force to be reckoned with, but also as a major threat to Yahoo! For the following months to come, Sonic 1 would sell, and I mean sell big time, coming in at a gargantuan 31 million copies sold in 1991 alone, easily making north of $2,196 million just in that year. So, with this incredibly lucrative and successful release, what will come of Yuji Naka and the boys at Sonic Team? Relax? Have an awesome vacation? Maybe even hang out at the beach for a bit? Hell no! Yuji Naka and Sonic Team began work on their next project, this time on the whole other side of the globe from Japan. Funny enough, Yuji Naka actually quit Sega following the release of Sonic the Hedgehog in 1991, after disagreements in corporate policy. Some things never change, I guess. Mark Cerny then swooped in and welcomed Yuji and Sonic Team to the newly formed California-based Sega branch, Sega Technical Institute. Then things started kicking into gear, with Sonic Team's newest project beginning work in November of 1991, and when other titans in the industry got wind of this, let's just say it made them go, with a $10 million advertising campaign and a set release of November 24th, 1992, barely a year after the release of Sonic 1, allow me to introduce to you Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Just like Sonic 1, Sonic 2 has gotten a ton of ports, ranging from the Game Gear, PlayStation 3, to even the Nintendo Switch, just naming a few. I played Sonic 2 both on the Sega Ages port for the Nintendo Switch and the Sega Genesis Classics version on the PC, which is where this gameplay is from. Hands down, if you have a Switch on hand and want to play this, go for the Sega Ages port. It's like $8 and goes on sale a decent amount. But just like the Sonic 1 port, it adds a lot of cool quality of life improvements. Modes like Supersonic Mode or Time Trials. It also adds the Drop Dash from Mania, and even Knuckles as a playable character to put the cherry on top. In comparison, while the Sega Genesis Classics version has some neat tweaks and improvements, and is a few dollars cheaper, plus having the luxury of mods, at least on the PC version, I had a decent amount of performance issues, more specifically frame drops in this version, which is kinda odd because I'm running a 2060 in my PC, so either Sonic 2 is a real intensive game, or this port wasn't optimized very well. I'll let you decide on that one. It's odd because I didn't have those issues with Sonic 1 on the Genesis Classics version. Either way, you can't go wrong with either version, both will get the job done. In Sonic 2, the plot consists of Dr. Robotnik trying to take over the world again by building an army of robots and trying to harness the power of the fabled Chaos Emeralds. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. This time he has a giant infamous space station called the Death Egg, which he plans to use for world domination. Now tell me, isn't that friggin' awesome? Once again, it is up to Sonic, and this time tagging along for his first appearance in the franchise, Sonic's two-tailed best friend, Miles Tails Prower. It's funny, when getting information for this video, I found out something I didn't know about Tails. Yasushi Yamaguchi, who is the main artist and zone designer for Sonic Team, based Tails' character off the kitsune, which is a creature from Japanese folklore that could grow multiple tails over time. It's pretty neat. Not only does the plot take a step up in Sonic 2 compared to its predecessor, but so does the surprisingly large amount of storytelling, both environmental and as direct as it can get for an action platformer in 1992. Taking a step back, it really amazes me seeing the progression of storytelling in the classic games, where Sonic 1 had some environmental storytelling, but laid the blueprint for what was to come in the next couple of years. Sonic 2, on the other hand, steps it up quite a bit. With the completely different and unique areas it takes you to, it really shows the journey Sonic and Tails have to take so they can bring down Eggman and his goons. Along with having a few neat level transitions, not forgetting Scrap Ray and Zone Act 2 and 3, from Sonic 1 of course, which all set the groundwork for the multiple transitions in the later games with even more juiced up stories. The way I like to put it is, Sonic 1 sets up the level transitions and a bigger story for the forthcoming games, but Sonic 2 takes the story and amplifies it, also for the forthcoming games. It's really cool seeing the progression of that in each game, one by one. The tone of both games, while being very bright and beautiful, still does a fantastic job conveying a sense of seriousness, which shines through in Sonic 1, 2, CD, and 3K. Look at Sonic's sprite and tell me he does not look like he's on his way to go blow some shit up. It frustrates me that I've seen a lot of people when speaking about the later installments in the franchise complaining the stories are either too complex or pseudo-serious, if that's even a word, but then praise the classic games saying, Sonic doesn't need a story to be good. Like, dude, what? Have you played any of the 2D games? In Sonic 1, he's basically on a one-man mission to stop his homeworld from being completely torched and built anew as an industrial complex. Sonic 2 steps that up even more with Sonic chasing Eggman all over Kingdom Come to prevent Eggman from dominating the world with very climactic moments like Sonic jumping off the Wing Fortress, which he barely grabs onto Eggman's escaping ship, or the final confrontation between Eggman and Sonic, where Sonic needs to go super for the first canonical time to get out of the Death Egg alive. Another great example is Sonic CD or 3K. Actually, let me hold off on those for a later time. On another note, speaking of amped up stories, Sonic 2 was supposed to be centered around time travel before scrapping it for a more direct story. I wonder what happened to that idea. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start off with what we established in the Sonic 1 video regarding what the core gameplay mechanic of Sonic is. 2D Sonic at least. That being, using the game's mechanics and physics to build momentum and maintain speed through precise platforming. What's the reward of this? Speed, and getting through the stage as fast as you can. That being said, Sonic 1 used a lot of half-pipes and springs to get your momentum going, but it was up to you to maintain that for as long as you could, and it pulled no punches on blocking your path. Sonic 2, on the other hand, relies a lot more on loops, springs, and downward slopes to give the feeling of going fast while still keeping the difficulty and reward of the platforming blueprint from Sonic 1, which is mainly seen in higher elevation routes of Sonic 2. Although the feeling of going really fast for the first time in Emerald Hill or Chemical Plant is awesome, the novelty starts to wear off once you realize you completed some of the acts by just flying across the stage without much controller input, especially on your first playthrough. I personally feel this is where Sonic 2 suffers the most in its gameplay elements. Not all, but a decent amount of the speed that is seen in Sonic 2 does not feel rewarded, but more given in the sense that Sonic Team really wanted to emphasize the speed of Sonic, which in some instances, which I'll get to later, just means holding down and right on the left stick to win. Now onto the good things. Not only is the gameplay relatively refined from Sonic 1, Sonic controlling as good, if not a little better in Sonic 2 compared to its predecessor, along with Sonic's faster acceleration in the sequel to recover faster from losing momentum. It also introduced probably the most, if not one of, the most iconic gameplay mechanics in all of gaming, that being the spin dash. I'm sure we all know what this does, so I don't think I need to explain it too much, but it is a new tool in Sonic's moveset that allows him to roll up in a ball, building momentum and shoot forward, taking out anyone in his path. The spin dash is a great mechanic because it allows players to continue their momentum if they get hit. While it seems like a pretty easy mechanic to handle, and it is, there is also a bit of a learning curve because if you use it stupidly, you'll ruin your momentum even more by running into something. What is great about Sonic 2 is it takes notes from Sonic 1 regarding the different routes, expanding the verticality of each act, giving you more and more options and ways to choose how you want to complete the level. The lowest level being the slowest but easiest, and the highest being the hardest due to a lot of precision platforming, which is rewarded beautifully with amped up exploration, shortcuts, and overall faster times to the goal, all while having fresh and distinct zones all in completely different locations, with each zone having its own, generally enjoyable gimmick and personality. Sonic 2 also only has 2 acts per zone, but almost doubling the amount of zones, totaling it to 11 zones. Excluding Metropolis Zone from that 2-act list, the 2 acts keep each location unique and fresh compared to the 3 acts per zone that was prevalent in Sonic 1. Although I enjoyed some of the later Act 3s of Sonic 1, it did feel like some zones overstayed their welcome by the 3rd act. Sonic 1 only had 7 acts including the final zone, by the way. On the other hand, speaking of Metropolis Zone, the reason why it has 3 acts instead of the normal 2 of Sonic 2 is because the 3rd act was originally a completely different zone called Cyber City, or the cooler name, Genocide City, which got scrapped and reused for what is known as Metropolis Zone Act 3. Now, let's get talking about those zones. Green Hill Zone. Just kidding. While this may seem like a copy of the starting zone of Sonic 1, even being called Green Hill Zone in the 1992 Sonic 2 beta, it is far from similar to Green Hill. Emerald Hill is one hell of a zone, really showing the beauty of the 16-bit art that goes into these games, with the beautiful beaches and lush tropical forestry that surrounds this zone. In both acts of Emerald Hill, this zone emphasizes speed big time. Both acts are split up into about 2 to 3 routes, those branching and offering different and unique set pieces, whether it's the big loop-de-loops, the corkscrew loops, or just the giant waterfalls. This zone is frigging awesome, and I always enjoy coming back to play it. The music in this zone is great, immediately separating itself from Green Hill with its upbeat theme that makes me want to put down the controller and dance every time I hear it. I'll play a little here now. Act 1 is a pretty easygoing act, mainly to adjust the player to the new spin dash mechanics and areas to accommodate that adjustment period. With the feeling of going fast as you're zooming through the aforementioned set pieces, on the other hand, Act 2 ramps it up with a lot more in the verticality of the routes. But if you were able to get to those higher elevation routes, you are rewarded tenfold with the easier platforming in the loop-de-loops and corkscrews, which carry you through the level. Both acts are littered with secret areas, power-ups, and hidden checkpoints to hopefully give you a shot at those horrid special stages. The boss in Emerald Hill is probably one of the more iconic bosses in 2D Sonic, that being Eggman and his Drillmobile. This boss is very easy, but I always enjoy fighting it. Eggman basically strays from left to right shooting his drill at you before the final hit, which all you need to do is just jump over and tap him a few times to clear the boss. I have a very interesting love-hate relationship with Chemical Plant. On my original playthrough of Sonic 2, I hated this zone, feeling it was one of the most overrated zones in all of the Sonic franchise. I've been enlightened now with finishing up my second and third complete playthroughs of this game. Let me just get it out of the way first. Listen to this. Tell me that doesn't bang. I enjoyed this zone a lot, but I have some major complaints regarding Act 1, which I will harken back to what I was speaking about earlier with some of the acts in Sonic 2. While Act 1 of Chemical Plant is very fun to pick up and play, and you go very fast, it kind of bothered me on repeated playthroughs after I realized the controller was basically taken out of my hands for like 65% of the level, because I would hit a boost pad and shoot through a majority of the act with loops and tubes with no input whatsoever from me. I do love Chemical Plant, but it cheapens the reward of earned speed. That is the core pillar of 2D Sonic's gameplay. Before I talk a little bit about Act 2, I want to touch on the setting of this level, which I love. Chemical Plant is a really interesting design that seems like a true evolution of the stage settings of Sonic 1. It has a major color palette of gray, blue, and yellow with a very metallic feel to it, since it is in an industrial plant. But it's interesting seeing the contrast of that and the living city life in the background, which is full of vibrant reds, oranges, and greens. And on top of that, the purple water and the blue liquid spear things give some serious life to the setting, picking up on the grays and darker colors with the more vibrant purples, orange, and reds. Act 2 solves just about all my complaints of Act 1. It features a lot of speed sections which are dictated by not only the loop-de-loops and boost pads, but also your own skill in regards to maintaining momentum and offering multiple varying pathways along, with balancing those speed sections with super fun and somewhat tricky platforming. With a race against the rising purple water in one section, which reminds me of one of my favorite Sonic 1 zones, Labyrinth Zone. The boss in this zone is also a lot of fun to go against. Eggman has some weird blue water thingies that he shoots at you. I don't know what it is, and it's kind of irrelevant because the real challenge on this boss was just not falling to my death, even when I would kill the boss. Aquatic Ruin is hands down my favorite zone in Sonic 2 and one of my favorite 2D zones, period. Everything about this zone is filled to the brim with charm. To start, the setting of this zone is astonishingly beautiful, with huge mountains and thick forests in the background to the really neat influence of the historical Greek and Roman architecture that fills out the rest of this zone. It's so great. This is also one of the zones that really hits the nail on the head perfectly with the mechanic of earned speed, and there's copious amounts of hidden power-ups and little things to explore. Both acts consist of two major routes, one being underwater and one being above. The above is significantly harder to platform through, but if you do, you will be flying in this zone. Also, there are some serious fast sections with the loops and such, which give you that extra momentum boost, all while having to dodge these arrows that are coming at you. It's challenging, it's fun, it's rewarding when you get that real good run on this zone, and I love the hell out of it. The water route, while I would say is a bit easier, it will give you obviously a slower time, and the water platforming, while fun, can be tricky at the same time. But Sonic handles great underwater, just like in Sonic 1. With going the easier of the two routes, you also get penalized by having this giant bush thing block your field of view for a bit, which I felt was a neat little challenge in the zone. Don't even get me started on the music for this zone. Aquatic Ruin is so unique in the 2D Sonic music discography. It has this Latin flair to it, which I don't think I've ever heard in a Sonic game, and it makes itself stand apart from the rest. I mean, take a listen to this. I could keep talking about Aquatic Ruin for a while, but let me touch on the boss in this zone. At the end of Act 2, you are confronted with Eggman boxing you into these giant pillars which shoot arrows at you when he hits the pillars. The gimmick here is you have to jump on the arrows and then hit him, which I find really fun, but not a difficult boss fight by any means. Overall, this zone is always a blast to play, blending the difficulty and precision platforming needed to feel fast, with also the fun moments of just hitting those boost pads and flying through parts of the act. Anytime I boot up Sonic 2, this is the zone I'm looking forward to the most. I made a comment in the Sonic 1 video saying I wasn't a big fan of the casino levels in the franchise, and Sega trying to push Sonic into a gambling problem, but this is the exception. Casino Night is a beautiful level, arguably one of the nicest looking classic levels, period. It captures the Vegas glitzy look that this zone is going for 100%, with its beautiful neon signs and bright eye-popping colors, mainly those being gold, blues, and red, and with the buzzing, lively city in the background with basically no light ever remaining still in this level. This was another level in my first playthrough of Sonic 2 I did not like at all, but came to appreciate in my later playthroughs with exploring more and seeing all the little upgrades this zone has to offer. Both acts are very vertical stages with multiple routes weaving you in and out of the bright casino life. While the acts are very vertical, which I think works well in this case, the traversal through the acts is great. Also, Casino Night offers a bunch of elevators and wound up springs which will shoot you through the level into areas you probably didn't even find on your first couple of playthroughs. Casino Night also encourages a lot of exploration throughout the level. Like most of the zones in this game, one of the prime examples I can think of is when I got stuck at the bottom of an area. I built up enough speed to go up the wall, but what ended up happening was I found a secret path which had an extra life and took me to a new area where I could continue progressing. Both acts are a blast to play, and I even enjoyed bouncing around on the bumpers trying to get into the slot machines on this one. This zone, to say the least, shits all over Springguard in every way, from its exciting color palette and level design to actually going all the way with the casino setting. It's a blast to play through. It also felt like the bumpers and pinball shooters had a purpose of being in Casino Night, because I felt like the levels had a lot more half pipes, curved walls, and ledges that accommodated and continued the buildup of momentum you would receive from these. In Springguard, a lot of the bumpers and casino-y stuff just seemed very out of place and unnatural compared to Casino Night, where it feels right at home. It better because the casino's in the name. The music is catchy as all get out too. Sonic 2 really ups the ante in the music department, which I'll talk about in a bit, but here's a sample from Casino Night. The boss is also alright. It's one of the weaker bosses in the game, consisting of having Sonic and Tails in a pinball-looking machine with Eggman dropping spikes on you, which you have to avoid and hit him by running up the walls and tapping him. It's pretty straightforward and easy, but it's quite an effective boss, just nothing really to write home about other than the beautiful background. Hilltop hits a bit different. Another great Sonic 2 zone. Hilltop is an interesting setting. It takes place above the clouds on these giant mountains, which I assume are the mountains in the back of Aquatic Ruin. Hilltop is also very reminiscent of what Marble Zone was trying to do, especially with the set pieces and runs with it. Hilltop's acts are a bit different than the rest of Sonic 2's level design, because it kind of calls back to Marble Zone, where you have two outside main paths that end up converging into one path closer to the end, and also the ground shifts similarly to Marble Zone, revealing lava and other hazards that block your path. In both Act 1 and 2 of Hilltop, you have a tight platforming route which takes you higher up in the sky, but cuts a lot of the underground lava areas down. Not only does it do that though, but there are multiple areas in the upper route which have hidden paths, power-ups, and hidden checkpoints, all rewarding exploration a ton. In the lower route, you face a lot more hazards and open lava pits, but if you're good and keep your momentum, it will not hamper your time at all. The big gimmicks in this zone are the vine lifts and the seesaws returning from Starlight Zone. They both fit in very well in this zone, and especially the vine lifts, which are a nice change of pace and offer some different verticality in the platforming, while we see the seesaws are used to scale higher and higher up the mountain as the act goes on. One of my favorite parts of this zone is in Act 2. You enter a cavern and the ground starts to shift and the cavern starts to collapse, so you have to jump from moving and falling platforms while the lava is rising below your feet. It's my favorite part of the zone, and there's even a cool little invincibility power up in the cavern via a hidden pathway on your way up, if you're fast enough. Music in this section is also very interesting, much like Aquatic Ruins track. It's much different from a lot of the general 2D Sonic music discography, and that it has a very country flair to it with what I assume is a harmonica. It's super catchy though, and it fits the zone perfectly. Here's a quick bit from Hilltop. The boss is quite fun and challenging in this zone. In this fight, it's very similar to the Marble Zone fight where you have to jump from ledge to ledge, dodging the fireballs in the grass that gets set on fire, while also hitting Eggman. I would keep on dying from, nope, not the boss, but due to falling in the lava after juggling Sonic on top of him. Once I stopped doing that after like the 5th time running through this boss, it became a bit easier. Overall, a good boss for a very solid zone. Mystic Cave is a blast to play through every time. Sonic and Tails have now descended deep underground for some reason to this really uniquely designed zone where these giant crystal-looking rocks cover all the mines in this zone. It's a real neat design. Mystic Cave is really cramped, which suits the theme very well, with it being underground and all. Both acts consist of the normal 2-lane routes, which are both very viable compared to most zones. I really like the vine levers in this zone, which activate different bridges and openings for different pathways to be discovered, along with hidden power-ups and traps, which are always great. This zone reminds me a lot of Sonic 1, since there isn't many real fast areas per se, as a lot of this zone consists of crumbling platforms and floating sections which lead to different areas, along with the vine switches. So having continual momentum is quite challenging, but that's what I love about it. I will say though, the zone gets even more trickier if you're playing as Super Sonic because of his floatier controls, which I'll get into a little bit later. The only real knock I can give this zone is the infamous pit in Act 2, which has no way of getting out of. Even when transformed into Super Sonic, you're going to be stuck down there for a while. Although in the 2013 re-release, this pit apparently leads to a new zone, which was originally cut from Sonic 2 called Hidden Palace Zone. I didn't have access to that re-release, so I was stuck with the wonderful pit. Mystic Cave is one of my favorite 2D Sonic zones, period, as it has a very distinct setting, along with an interesting level design mainly focused around slower platforming and rewarding exploration, which is refreshing and keeps nice pacing between the zones since it isn't 100% speed focused, and the awesome soundtrack backs that up. And lastly, Sonic and Tails run into Eggman once again in these caves, where he's rocking this time the Egg Drill 2, because apparently Sonic Team didn't give him the heads up from Emerald Hill that his Drillmobiles are very easy to beat. My gameplay of this boss is with Super Sonic, but trust me, either way this boss is a piece of cake. Another banger. This time Sonic and Tails find themselves in a huge mechanical oil refinery suspended above a literal ocean of oil. Pretty awesome. This is another one of my favorite 2D Sonic zones due to the total amount of route flexibility this zone offers, while also focusing on slower, more methodical platforming, which if done correctly is rewarded with great speed and some awesome section skips. Both acts offer like 3 to 4 routes, including swimming in the oil, which can be used to skip some sections. Check out some Sonic 2 speedruns. Oil Ocean is a very vertical zone, with its elevators taking you up to different sections, its giant cannons which will shoot you across the act, or the giant green cap looking platforms which get shot into the sky for mid-air platforming. They even took a page out of one of my favorite Sonic 1 zones, that being the water. Now oil slides are brought back from Labyrinth Zone, which easily take you across different levels of this act throughout its playtime, giving you different sections to jump off to and explore. Also, the music, shocker, is another unique banger, giving hints of an Egyptian tune, especially with the instruments used in this song. It's really great and super catchy. This zone is also featured as a reimagining in Christian Whitehead's Sonic Mania. The boss of this zone is quite challenging in my opinion, as I died like 5 times to it. Eggman has an oil submarine you have to hit while also dodging the oncoming laser beams which he shoots at you. And he also has this giant scorpion looking stinger thing that comes at you. It's a very fun and challenging boss for a very fun and challenging zone. After the blistering heat of Oil Ocean, Sonic and Tails end up in the heart of Eggman's massive industrial factory, and the acts in this zone show the size of this factory in both its vertical and horizontal range. Each act is huge and very challenging, which makes it super fun. It feels like a giant sprawling maze half the time because areas bleed right into other areas, really mixing just about everything Sonic is known for into one giant zone. This being, there are areas of fast-paced platforming where you're just dodging hazards to keep momentum, slower paced platforming which revolves around either dodging huge spike pits or giant pits of acid. An example of this, which is very reminiscent of Labyrinth Zone, is the design of the giant moving conveyor belts too. I have to say though, the screws are so obnoxious and annoying. They really kill the pacing of this zone and make large portions of this zone incredibly unenjoyable. It's fun like once, but when there's like 3 to 4 of them through the 3 acts, it gets very infuriating. Especially if you get hit off it and have to walk away just for the screw to respawn in its original position. It's just not fun, and screw those stupid starfish badniks. My times on this zone would be way better if it wasn't for them. The music is easily the best part of Metropolis Zone in my opinion, giving us a really neat track featuring some smooth electric guitar strings to really give off that mechanical vibe with how they're mixed. Check it out. Boss fight for this zone is really weird, but not hard at all. Maybe I didn't get it, and that's what it is, but I wasn't sure how to properly beat it, so I just kept on hitting Eggman while he spawned clones of himself, and then I would just blow those up and just wreck his shit. It wasn't hard, it was just an odd boss fight that probably sounded better on paper, maybe? Oh god, here we go. This is where Sonic 2 starts to take a giant nosedive. Sky Chase and Wing Fortress are easily the 2 worst zones in all of 2D Sonic, only rivaling probably one other zone, which I will talk about in another video. To put it bluntly, Sky Chase Zone is a slog. I imagine when this came out, it was probably a technical marvel, but either way, this zone has aged so poorly, and it's one of the biggest reasons I don't come back to Sonic 2 for complete playthroughs. I can appreciate the scope of what Sonic Team was trying to do here, with showing off the tornado and building up suspense to the final showdown between Sonic and Eggman, while having you dodge badniks and bob and weave in the sky with the tornado and Sonic. All this sounds great, and even sounds better on paper, but the final product in the application falls off a 10-story building and flat on its face, not only in building tension for the upcoming confrontation, but by playing a frickin' lullaby to put you to sleep. Which, the song doesn't sound bad on its own, but does a horrid job of building any shred of tension. And don't even get me started on the actual gameplay of this zone. It's an incredibly boring and sleep-inducing auto-scroller, where you're basically just sitting there half the time on the tornado praying to God you finally hit the end of this snooze fest. I would much rather play Sonic Adventure Sky Chase sequence tenfold, because at least the music in that bangs and I don't feel like I'm going to blow my brains out, as much at least. And here comes part 2 to this shitstorm. Winged Fortress sucks. There is no way around it. Again, I appreciate what they're trying to do with the scope of this story, and the transition from Sky Chase to Winged Fortress is cool, because the tornado gets shot down and you have to jump onto Eggman's flying battleship to potentially end it once and for all. That part is awesome, and you can see where this sets the stage for the total act transitions in the later 2D games like Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But getting to the actual meat of this zone, it's just flat out not fun. There's only one main route, and while the platforming is difficult, which I enjoy, none of it is fun. And that's the main thing this stage lacks. It's literally just waiting around for platforms and terrible gimmicks like hanging off the ladder rungs, which I didn't mind in earlier zones, but in this one where Sonic jumps off the rungs like a brick and falls to his death, or there being no real direction whatsoever on your first playthrough or two on where to go, it's just boring and you end up running around until you finally find the end. I will give Winged Fortress credit, not only in its scope and setting, which are both awesome, but there is an abundance of hidden areas that hold rings, shields, or other power-ups. Oh, and try your best to not turn into Super Sonic on this level, because you're gonna wish that it was you falling off a Sky Fortress and not Sonic. Due to the small, precise platforming areas, Super Sonic will just fly over. I will say though, the boss for this section is easily one of the hardest and more rewarding bosses in the game, other than the Death Egg Gauntlet. This boss consists of Eggman trapping you between lasers inside of his ship, while you have to dodge these giant spike platforms along with a huge light beam. It's challenging and quite fun. I blew through it on this playthrough because I was Super Sonic, but trust me, as base Sonic, it's quite a rewarding challenge. I don't know. When I'm at the final section of a game like this, and I'm finally assaulting the bad guy's base, you would think the music would kick into gear and play something super hype or super intense, right? Nope, let's have nap time again. The music in this section, while standalone, is good, but sucks to build any form of hype or tension when you're basically in the final act of the game assaulting Eggman's literal flying fortress. And instead of filling you with any kind of excitement, it makes you want to go take a nap. I mean, listen to this. Anyways, once the boss battle is finished, Sonic chases Eggman to the end of Winged Fortress, where Eggman jumps in his rocket and gets the hell out, leaving Sonic stranded there to die. But luckily, our boy Tails comes back with the tornado, which Sonic jumps on and barely latches onto Eggman's rocket ship, leaving Tails in the dust and the final confrontation now looming ahead of Sonic, where we are taken into space at Eggman's ominous Death Egg space station, the actual finale of Sonic 2. You know everything I said about Sky Chase and Winged Fortress? Yeah, Death Egg Zone completely 180s on all my complaints for one of the most satisfying actual final zones in all of the Sonic franchise, period. I mean, check out this music. Doesn't it sound intense and hype? Once entering the Death Egg, you're met with the phenomenal final boss gauntlet, starting with the community named Mecha Sonic, who actually doesn't have a canonical name and either goes by Mecha or Silver Sonic depending on the game and comic series. Anyways, if not careful, he will completely wreck you. Especially since you have no rings, Mecha Sonic is a fun and very challenging fight, requiring you to really time your hits when he's not spinning his metal quills or spinning in a ball across the room at you. And for the love of God, do not spin dash at him or this will happen. He takes about 8 hits to bring down, and then the Big Daddy comes. Eggman hops into the new iconic Death Egg robot for the final confrontation, which 100% deserves the recognition it gets because this is a very tough but very fun boss. Completely trivializing the Mecha Sonic fight before, he has multiple moves mainly depending on if you're in front or back facing him. His front moves consist of slowly charging towards you, shooting his spiked arms at you, and trying to stop Sonic by locking on and jumping to him. If you're behind him, he shoots these little robot explosives out of his jetpack, which you need to dodge, but watch out. If you hit his jetpack, it's considered a death. All of his attacks are one-hit kill due to having no rings. I would suggest keeping him in front of you, and if you're feeling ballsy, gain some momentum while he's also marching towards you, jump over his spikes and hit him, while also making sure to hit him after landing from a lock-on attack. Just make sure to keep your distance and zone him a bit once you know he's getting ready to shoot his spiked arms at you. Eggman takes 12 hits to take down, so it's a long and rewarding battle once you finally take him down. This took me many tries to finally defeat him, but once I did, man, it felt so great, and a great way to cap off the end of an excellent Sonic game. Oh god. After the super enjoyable Sonic 1 special stages, it felt like Sonic Team got on the phone together and were like, how can we make the most infuriating, annoying, and downright unfun special stages for our upcoming game? I know, let's do a pseudo 3D where you can barely see anything in front of you and have to basically replay the level over and over until you have the whole thing memorized. Great idea! My biggest problem with Sonic 2 is not Wing Fortress, it's not Sky Chase, it's the god-awful special stages. I do not rage much in video games generally, but these special stages are terrible, and I threw my controller like 5 times doing them. The special stages hold me back from completing Sonic 2 over and over and over again because I never want to go through the slog of doing these more times than I have to. During development of Sonic 2, art director Tim Skelly came up with the idea and appearance for these 3D special stages based off a tech demo created by Yuji Naka. For those who haven't put themselves through the torture of doing these, to access these torture chambers you need 50 rings when crossing a checkpoint to get a chance to beat the special stages. The stages are set up where you hit Sonic and Tails in a half pipe collecting a certain amount of rings at each section, before moving on to the next section while dodging bombs and such, which will lower your ring count, and if you make it to the end, you're rewarded with a Chaos Emerald. Sounds easy, right? Well, no. First off, Sonic controls like a freaking brick, and nothing like how he controls in-game during the, actual fun parts of the game. And Tails comes along behind Sonic, who collects rings, which is put to the total amount for each section. Tails has a delay in his actions compared to Sonic, so 90% of the times you do these, it comes down to Tails just running into shit and blowing up the whole session because apparently he can't move. And by the time you were able to see and actually react to the hazards, it's too friggin' late because Tails just runs into everything and dies. Every time I play these, it makes me go, shut up, Tails! And no, before I get in the comments,
oh wow, Eldarin, you just suck, maybe get good, lol.
I've completed these multiple times, and I have hated every second of it. Oh, and before I forget, playing with Tails not only friggin' sucks, but it also is hard mode for this, because apparently only playing with Sonic lowers the ring count, and you don't have to deal with these bullshit delayed actions of Tails, who can't apparently do anything right. Nothing about these stages are fun, or rewarding at all. They feel like a busy work school assignment you were given that you hated every second of, and just got out of the way because you had to do it. And don't get me friggin' started about how many times I've made it to the final goal, missing one ring, and having the game basically say, lol, you're shit, try again from the beginning. Just talking about these gets me so pissed. As I stated before, I have no problem with difficulty. Most of the more difficult stages being my favorite in the franchise, but these just suck. I guess the only thing I can say about these stages that is relatively good is the music is catchy. Anyways, after you escape from the 20 Days of Sega parody, you're rewarded with one of the most iconic things in gaming, Super Sonic, and oh, does it damper the blow of these shitty special stages. I love Super Sonic and Sonic 2. To start, Super Sonic is activated once you obtain all 7 Chaos Emeralds and have 50 rings in a stage. Sonic will go Super, having his own theme and basically a new control scheme, and obviously taking inspiration from Dragon Ball Z. What I love the most about Super Sonic compared to most other game franchises is that he still has a skill curve instead of just being incredibly overpowered with no penalties. Super Sonic controls way more floaty and faster than regular Sonic, along with being invincible. This may sound overpowered, but it really isn't, since I like to treat Super Sonic as his own character because of how different he controls and how normal jumps and mid-air control of Sonic, especially on tight platforms, is incredibly harder due to his floatiness along with having to manage your ring count, because if you drop to 0 rings as Super Sonic, you go back to base form Sonic. So there is some serious practice that needs to be done as Super Sonic to efficiently go through the levels without messing up and falling off platforms, giving a slower time than even base form Sonic at some points. It's an interesting trade-off, as for example, some of the tighter platforming on Wing Fortress is done way easier with base Sonic, but as Super Sonic, missing the platforms and falling to your death is a much more likely result. It's very rewarding every time activating Super Sonic, not only because of the Chaos Emeralds, but because you're able to hold on to the 50 rings needed to activate him. He's a blast to play as, and every time I activate him, it's always so rewarding to see that animation go with the Super Sonic theme kick in, taking over the stage theme. There is a reason why Super Sonic is so iconic in the fanbase and gaming period. Check out the theme. I don't think I need to really touch on the music much here. The soundtrack is absolutely phenomenal and incredibly unique still to this day, with tracks ranging from heavily Egyptian influenced themes like Oil Oceans, Emerald Hill's cheery trumpet standouts, Mystic Cave's moody Halloween-esque beat, or Aquatic Ruins' heavily Latin influenced tracks. The soundtrack is phenomenal, and there's a reason why people still talk about it to this day, with a complete rainbow of instruments being used to shape this banger of a soundtrack by Masato Nakamura, who was also the bassist and songwriter for the J-pop band Dreams Come True. Nakamura also did the Sonic 1 soundtrack. It's funny. When Sonic Team went to start production on Sonic 2, all they gave Nakamura in the beginning of development was concept images for reference, which he started making all the songs for the soundtrack off of. Another thing I thought was really cool is he's been quoted saying, "I wanted to treat Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as a film. My inspiration came from each screenshot or each stage." Sega and Sonic Team gave him full freedom in making the soundtrack. Probably wouldn't see that today, which he attributes to why the soundtrack is full of these wonderful melodic tunes and unusual rhythm patterns. You can tell Nakamura had serious passion for this project since when he was working on the soundtrack, his band was working on their next album called Swinging Star, and on that, Dreams Come True did an alternate version of the ending theme as a gift to Sonic Team, which is also featured on the album. It always makes me happy to see people put their heart into something like this. Heck, I wish I got my own remixed ending theme. Sonic 2 is a phenomenal game, which is a blast to play through most of the normal stages with a soundtrack that perfectly encapsulates everything these stages were trying to put forward. Sonic controls a little bit better in 2 than in 1, with higher acceleration along with new moves like the spin dash that perfectly fit into his toolset. Additions of new characters like Tails and Super Sonic, along with blowing all of the Sonic 1 bosses out of the water, with most of them being very fun and challenging. However, the back section drags very heavily with the god-awful Sky Chase and Wing Fortress zones, resuscitating itself with the climactic Death Egg final zone. But we cannot forget or forgive the Iron Maidens that are the special stages. With that being said, I believe Sonic 2 is 100% worthy of the A tier. While everything in this game is top-notch, I cannot without good conscience say it is worthy of S tier, mainly due to Sky Chase, Wing Fortress, the somewhat over-reliance in some areas of unearned speed, and especially the special stages. While technically are optional, really aren't if you want to get the good ending. And comparing the special stages to Sonic 1, which Sonic 1 blows them out of the water, Sonic 2 comfortably sits at the A tier. Still a phenomenal game and 100% worth playing through, and a very worthy successor to the greatness that is Sonic 1. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be doing Sonic CD next, which is certainly the dark horse of the classic games. Please don't forget to leave feedback and let me know how I can improve, along with telling me what you thought. Till next time.